I think in the Charlotte trade, you got the opportunity to get a little sexy, right? It's not necessarily now, please take Russell Westbrook off our hands. We'll throw in this, we'll throw in that, just take him. And now it's more like, you got some bullshit over there you're trying to get rid of too. What's that I smell? That's the corpse of Gordon Hayward rotting over there in Charlotte. But maybe we could do something. Maybe there's a deal to be had. So, I mean, Omar Kwame, whoever wants to kick it off first, I just want to kind of see like Charlotte, Russ, MJ, Gordon Hayward. These pieces kind of seem like I got a little bit more smoke here. They got to get rid of a bad contract too. So, how do we feel about trading for Gordon Hayward, who has been the face of can't stay healthy?
When we think about the Charlotte Hornets, right? The past 2 seasons, right, in essence, have been somewhat of failure because they've been in the play-in tournament and they got their asses kicked both times by like over 20 points, right?
Throttled.
So, like throttled, right? And now they're trying to build and build around LaMelo Ball, right? So there is like to your point, Ricky, there is a bunch of bullshit on that roster that we can definitely use, right? So I think bringing in Gordon Hayward and then rerouting him to a third team, I think that makes perfect sense. But then the secondary and tertiary pieces are very important. So I like the likes of like Terry Rozier, PJ Washington. I'm fine with Mason Plumlee too. He's actually a decent big. Fills like a lot of the needs that like a regular season big fills for a team. Or Kelly Oubre. I get it. Like he has the space cadet issues. But again, we're talking about more players with more size, and I think that's what really matters when you're talking about like modern basketball in today's NBA. Like a lot of like look at all these like teams like Minnesota Timberwolves, the Toronto Raptors. Every player is like above 6'7", and you can play like the switchability adds a lot of layers to offense and defense. And the goal, I think, out of trading any team like with Russell Westbrook is getting these other players with like mid-tier salaries where you can kind of make some other trades like later down the line too. Like if things don't pan out, like you have options, right? Like everything isn't in one basket. Like all your eggs isn't in one basket with Russell Westbrook, like that contract of $47 million. Right. When you have like these other players with other like mid-tier salaries, you can make some moves. Like that was the problem with us, like this past trade deadline, is we didn't have any of those salaries. Right. But like when we get the PJ Washingtons, the Terry Roziers, like there's some value with that in the NBA because there's like, I would say like 10 or 15 out of the teams in the NBA, they do not care about winning. They're just trying to operate a business. So when you're talking about moving salaries and moving contracts, there's deals to be had. Where the problem is the front office. Do we trust the front office to make smart basketball and business decisions? Not just like, hey, I'm Jeannie Buss and I'm going to make this big splash trade for Russell Westbrook and all the fans are going to go cuckoo for him. No, you got to be smart and you got to be thinking about basketball. You got to be thinking about LeBron and AD and how many games they're going to be playing, right? You don't want to you want to manage their load, obviously, in the regular season so that they're healthy in the playoffs. So those are the things that come to mind. And both of these trades have that, we have the opportunity to make some smart decisions. It's just, I think we've kind of talked about this, but it's the front office that we're worried about here.
Oh, man, Omar, you just had to do it. You just had to do it. We couldn't operate a whole podcast under the assumption that, hey, smart decisions will be made here. Competency will rule overall. We forget that we have established, entrenched ourselves, doubled down on the fact that this organization is ran by 3 people, 3.5 people, 2 of which have no clue what the hell they are doing in a basketball arena, office, stadium, whatever. You got the Ramby just running amok. Exit interviews. What do we hear? What did Stanley Johnson say? That's up to Rob and Kurt if he comes back. And Kurt. What bodies does Kurt Rambis know about? Who has he killed himself to get this kind of money. This man rolling around like the goddamn KGB. I can't do it, man. I cannot do. He honestly might be the Lakers Suge Knight right now. Just in the fact that he's just going to do things behind the scenes that's toxic and not for the betterment of the greater good, and instead fulfill his own oughts he's got against folks. The story about Ty Lue and how Kurt and Linda personally decided that, you know what, we just ain't gonna do this with Ty. It's just not worth it. Now you got LeBron. What's LeBron doing on the timeline? Best coach in the game, hands down. That's a shot. We forget. We are still in the house of shit here in Lakerland. So, you know, just to finish out the Charlotte combo, Omar, you had to do and done it. You had to remind the congregation, the nation, that this is not a pretty situation inside, outside, or upstairs. So appreciate you for that.
Yeah, this Charlotte trade is kind of gnarly, man, when you really think about it. My only thing is Hayward. Hayward is a tough return. I mean, obviously his contract isn't much better. He's only in the second year of his 4-year extension, so that gives you 2 more years of him, pulling in 30 and 31 million respectively in the next 2 years. So that's kind of tough. And he also has a 15% trade kicker, which are the Lakers really going to want to pay that bad boy just to get him? So, I mean, obviously, I think he
could waive it. He
could choose to waive it. Will he, though? What incentive does he have to waive it unless that's the destination he wants to go to?
Or if we worked out something where he goes to a team that he wants to go.
Correct. Yeah, rerouting. So that's probably the better idea. I mean, Rozier is also an interesting one. I mean, he's still a relatively young player. I think he's only 27 this year, but he's about to start the first of his 4-year contract extension. So, I mean, you know, I don't know. A lot of people have iffy feelings about Terry Rozier being a smaller shooting guard, but he does have point guard capabilities. Obviously, just him with LaMelo, and then even before that, him and Dante Graham, his skill set was kind of redundant, and they've always been kind of trying to find a place for that. But if they're trying to get Miles Bridges the big bucks, they got to get rid of one of those two, if not both, if they really want to just focus around building LaMelo and Miles. But they have a ton of expirings. I mean, the Oubre deal's an expiring, same with Plumlee. If the Lakers can trade for them, they get both of their early bird rights, which helps. So if they want to re-sign them, they can. So I think there's a lot of positives with the Charlotte trade, and a lot more scenarios, because they're a team that has a lot of expiring that is looking to shed money, you know, to give Miles Bridges his big extension. So I feel like they're probably the better of the two teams, in my opinion, just due to the sheer velocity of how many players you can take, how many you can reroute. And like I said, they have a lot of good deals. PJ Washington's on the end of his rookie deal. Plumlee, Oubre, all on the ends of their deals. Those could easily be rerouted to other teams also looking to shed salary that can give the Lakers some players back, or you keep them, or Hayward. So I think that scenario just offers us a bit more flexibility of what we want to do in terms of rebolstering our roster, because I assume that's probably the biggest thing to do with Russ right now. Not only get him off the books, but get quality wings players, but as many as we can, because we have to rebuild our depth with not a lot. We can't, send one player back. In my opinion, sending one player back and only getting 2, and that basically cancel the salaries is in the Indiana trade. I don't feel like we win out of that, because we're still going to have to sign a bunch of vet mins. Obviously, we got Luol's contract finally out the damn way, but it doesn't feel like you have a lot of flexibility still beyond that. And we see how this front office has operated in the margins. It hasn't been great. So I think we need a lot of space to really create. And I think the Charlotte trade offers us a little bit more of that. So if I had to pick a direction, that's where I would lean. But with this front office, like Omar said, you never know. They could screw everything up easily. And, I don't think any of us would be shocked. But best case scenario, I think Charlotte's probably a team unless some other team emerges late. But I think there's a lot to offer there. I think they have a lot of good players that could help us. I don't feel great about Hayward, but if it's between Hayward and Russ, what y'all doing?
Hey, Mitch. I tell you how much I always appreciated your time here in Los Angeles, man.
Except he gave Lou all that
damn
contract.
Kwame,
oh, sorry.
Please.
My fault. My bad.
Mitch, everybody makes mistakes, right? Like, and we will, the Luol Deng, Timothy Mozgov thing, it was kind of a big mistake. But you got us, pal, man. It's all good vibes over here, right? Just one more, just one more favor, right? Just one more pat on the back before, we retire you as one of our all-time greatest GMs, right? I don't even know if that's a possible thing, but Mitch, brother, we are hurting, okay? I don't know. Does Kurt and Mitch have a good relationship? They look like they'd be friends. They look like they'd go to Starbucks together and get some coffee with their tube socks on. There needs to be some behind the scenes buffoonery happen. Some handshakes, some deals that are at least. Mitch, want to throw us a bone, my man. Rozier looking good. Big Plum Dog looking good. Hayward looking good, right? You get a little freaky. PJ Washington, we won't turn our nose up against, but Russ looks good in teal. I think we all can agree on that. And Charlotte's a wonderful place to raise a family. It's safe. Got a friend moving out there soon.
He's Jordan brand.
He's Jordan brand. Let's just make sense.
Oh.